Hello, everyone. Nice to be back here. After Alexei delivers a great talk, we are moving forward with the business business application of data and AI track. And we have a great honor to announce that our next speaker is Georgi Kokaia, who will tell us more about moving past additional retail, IKEA, the age of data. In this talk, Georgi will present the recent push IKEA as a whole has made into the data sphere, and then narrow it down to the product that he is technical lead, which became one of the flagships of IKEA venture. IKEA has always been a staple when it comes to excellent traditional retail. However, IKEA was somehow late on the ball in this new age of data, and to rectify this massive push has been made over the past 2 years, and the expansion is still ongoing even in this age of COVID-19. In his talk, he will give some insight in different ways they believe the data will keep IKEA at the forefront. He will also present what his team has been working on, which is a data-driven store-level pricing engine for outgoing items. The pricing engine has been tested, show great results, and is currently being rolled out on 30 different markets. So I will not take any more of your time. I will ask Georgi to present to start with his presentation, and after that we will have a Q&A session to ask him whatever you would like. Thank you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Georgi. I am a former astrophysicist from Sweden, now working in IKEA, which might be a strange choice, but you know, in Sweden we get to choose between army and IKEA, and I went for IKEA. In all seriousness though, astronomy, if anything, is a big data field, and it was a pretty great fit for me. So today I will share with you guys a little bit about IKEA's past, and then look at what we're currently doing to adjust to the new age, and then a closer look at specifically what I've been working on, which incidentally enough is very related to what Alexei was just talking about. I don't know if you guys planned that, but at least I'll be showing you a business application of using uplifts. So moving on. Yes, so here you see Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA. He grew up in a small village in Sweden and was very entrepreneurial. Started by buying matchsticks in Stockholm, I believe, and transporting them to smaller towns and selling them. And then he started his furniture empire, and excuse the pun, but he grew it to a household name. So if we were to ask Ingvar, which we can't because he passed away 2 years ago, what made IKEA this global giant, and what was the secret behind the success of IKEA? And that was two core things, according to Ingvar. That was the design and the values, and how they went hand in hand. Be it the simple and cheap but also elegant design of the furniture to the design of the stores, which all adhere to all of IKEA's values. And these values really are at the forefront of almost every business decision made by IKEA, be it the affordability or whatever these values are. For example, when we set prices, and I do work in pricing, we first determine what price levels we want. So we say we want a cheap bed, a moderately priced bed, and an expensive bed. Decide on the prices and then work in the design. So it's these values are really at the center of everything that we do. So, but now we're of course moving into the future, which is data, online, and so forth. And IKEA was a bit late in this game, as was mentioned. There was no real push for this until 2 years ago, which is of course bad, but it's also good in a way, because it has allowed us to learn from mistakes that have been made by other companies, and to quickly grow in the right direction. And we really have grown quickly. This is a picture of the data and analytics team. back from when a gathering like this would have been acceptable. So I believe this is from February this year. And the data and analytics division started almost exactly 2 years ago today. So all of these members were recruited within 15 months, and it's been growing even in these COVID times. So this is us. We're a group of data scientists, data analysts, data engineers, and data architects. And we're now also have a bunch of machine learning engineers specifically who have joined as well. So we're constantly growing and constantly evolving. So what we as the data and analytics part do, well, this is one of the values, core values of IKEA, that is to create a better every day for the many people. And that is what we try to enable as much as possible. And this is our then official mission statement to effective data-driven decision-making across IKEA and enable teams to build inspiring, convenient, and personalized experiences and solutions. Now, this might seem like just repeating some nonsense business statement, but it's not. It really shows how we work across the organization. So us from data analytics, we are spread out in product teams all over the organization, and we assist in 3 core areas, and that is to help visualize what the people are doing from a data perspective, provide insights, and it's called applied AI, which is a buzzword, but enable algorithmic decision making. So that's what we try to imbue all across the entire organization. And here are some examples of things that we have been working on. There's a new IKEA app which has been deployed in most markets. Not sure if you would have it in wherever you are. But that it contains this inspirational feed, which data mines all over and grabs these pictures to inspire people and help them find the home they want using IKEA. As you know, all of the stores are identical, but when we came, or the layout has the same design at least, but when we came to IKEA, us from data and analytics, or the digital chapter, we found that each market had its own website, which, imagine in Europe, there are like 30 different markets, they all had their own website. They all looked similar, but they all had slightly different designs. This is not good, simply put, and it goes against the design philosophy. So that's one of the things we've done, is to unify the web experience and improve upon it significantly. We created this visual intelligence app, which is used throughout different products, be it trying to look how furniture will look in your apartment by using this app, identify furniture, or even walking into your neighbor's apartment, which might be very well designed and not contain IKEA furniture, but whatever. And then you can snap a picture of that apartment and get the IKEA equivalent suggestion. This isn't out to market yet, but it's a cool application of technology that is used throughout. And of course, to drive algorithmic decision-making, forecasting is key. So we have been developing a forecasting engine that should be able to be used internally throughout all our different data and analytics teams. This is one of the things I'm also working on, but this is more of an internal thing. But as I've been talking about, our values are still important, very important, and we try to enable the fulfillment of these values also in this day and age. Some examples of things we're doing now: Black Friday, the big capitalist holiday, of course, is happening next week. And one of the initiatives IKEA is pushing is buying back people's furniture and giving them vouchers to use at IKEA. And with that, this has been piloted in a few countries and is now being deployed globally. And we also just opened our first secondhand store. And me working with pricing, it poses an interesting challenge to how to work with this. We recently had some headlines made by our chief data officer, who made this promise, which we have worked on significantly within the organization, and that is to give our users, our customers, the ability to completely control their own data in our app, for example, how much data they want to share. And we even had a research paper written in-house that looked at how much you can personalize someone's experience as a function of how much data they share with you. So it's an interesting approach, I think. Further, IKEA has made this goal to be completely climate positive by 2030. And it's also already completely energy neutral. And you might think that I'm just telling you all these nice things that IKEA is doing because I work there and I'm spreading some propaganda. But we have seen when analyzing customers that this is important to people. Having this image as a company is very important from a business perspective as well. And customers every year care more and more about the image of the company that they're purchasing from. So not only is this a good thing generally for our children and grandchildren, but also from a business perspective, it's turning out to be more and more important. And even though IKEA isn't the biggest company in the world, we're trying to lead by example, which is another one of our core values. So onwards to my work then, which is titled EDS Markdown. So what does EDS stand for? Well, that's end date sale. So that is how we refer to items that are going out of stock. So we have a running range of about 10,000 items, and 4 times a year, 10% of these are replaced by newer items. And to make room for these new items, we discount the old items to make room for new stock. You probably walked through an IKEA and seen these yellow signs with red text that says outgoing, last chance or something, and has a discounted price on it. That is what we price. That is what we do with these EDS items. And this has usually been done by hand and by mind, but it's never been very successful. So we are there to help them do this algorithmically. So the big problem that the stores have had is what we call this business metric that we call carryover, where the carryover is the number of unique items left at the EDS that have any stock left at the EDS date. So the goal for each store is to have 50 carryover left. But this is a selection of stores, and they have historically been very bad at hitting this business goal. So what we ventured to do was to create an algorithm that enables the stores to hit this business goal in a much better way than just people setting these prices. And the answer to this question, as you can guess, is probably yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So, and that's also, so what I describe this venture as a flagship of IKEA. And it's not necessarily a flagship because it's the biggest and most important thing that we've done. Far from it. However, it is the first thing like this that we have done. It went from inception to market in 8 weeks last summer. And you can imagine how everyone who's worked with markets like that know that that's an incredibly fast pace to deploy a product like this. But what is the product then? Well, it's an algorithm that does essentially two things. It's a sales forecasting algorithm. That's the ML AI part of the algorithm, which looks at past sales and derives, as we heard in the previous talk, uplifts for these items. And into this ML bit of everything, we bake in all our values, local rules, and so forth. Then once we have the uplifts of the items, they're fed to an optimization algorithm, which then sets prices to drive these sales. Looking a bit closer at everything, so we have our AI bit, or machine learning bit, which we call our demand forecaster. It takes a bunch of different features. Now, these HFB, PA, PR, style group are internal IKEA product categories. Then it takes a bunch of other features, and what it predicts is item volume, so item sales per day per store for a given discount. So, and this is then, so we can break this down into 3 bits. So our demand forecast you see on the left here, and we split this up in basically a baseline, which is a linear fit of average weekly sales, a boost, which captures these time granularity features, like if it's a weekend, the sales go up. If it's Christmas is approaching, so that would be captured by the boost. But then we also have the uplift, which is how, in this case, we saw much more generalized cases previously, of course, but in this case specifically, it is how the demand increases as a function of discount. And the way we do this is to predict the uplift at a set of discounts, and then we fit a curve to these predictions. And this curve is what we call our uplift curve, which essentially, in this case, since we're using the discount for our uplift, it becomes what is known as price elasticity. So the price elasticity is how the demand or sales change as a function of price. So as we will see next week during Black Friday, when all these stuff gets discounted, when a TV gets discounted, the demand goes up quite significantly. So that's highly elastic. Whereas if bread gets discounted, the demand doesn't change that much. That's something that we would call inelastic. So what we then that we have the demand as a function of a discount, we give this to the optimization bit, which does dynamic price optimization. So then it looks at the stock in each store, and it sets the price as a function depending on the available stock. So say we're pricing 8 weeks in 2 different stores. One has 5 times as much stock as the other one. We see here that the optimization algorithm tries to set as low a discount as possible while still selling all of its stock. So the goal, as we saw before, is to reach this business metric, the carryover target, so to get rid of the stock. But we could get rid of the stock, of course, by just setting really high discounts everywhere, but we don't want to do that. We want to set optimal prices, and that is exactly what an optimizer does. It sets optimal prices. So last summer, this was done everything was built at least to a workable state in 8 weeks. And then we ran a pilot in the US where we had 1/3 of the stores not use our prices and 1/3 of the stores use our prices. This figure here on the left side, you see the control stores, which set their own prices, and the pilot stores where we set the prices. On the y-axis, you have how much stock there is of a given item. Each dot is a given item in a given store. And on the y-axis, you have the initial stock, and on the x-axis, you have the selling pace. So if you're on the top left of the graph, you have a lot of stock and you're not selling it very well, so you want to set a fairly high discount. Bottom right, you don't have that much stuff, and you are selling well anyway, so you probably don't need to set a very high discount. And as we see here, when you do it algorithmically, it's a very easy solution to find, where shown by the colors in the figures. Whereas when you let the humans do it on their own, it's not as good. And this is reflected in the two metrics that we looked at, which is the sales value realization, which is how much value you get out of your stock, essentially, and how much of the space you manage to clear through. We saw, even though we set more discounts in the stores, we actually, that's the blue lines, the blue lines are the pilot stores and the red lines are the control stores. So even though we set more discounts, we both managed to clear out more stock, which was expected, but we also increased the sales value realization whilst doing so. Now, the main goal isn't necessarily to increase the sales value realization. The main goal is manifold. So clearing out the stock means that we make room for new items, which are more valuable, simply put, and that has a value in its own, that we are able to make room for these new items. We allow the store employees who previously had to figure out how to set these prices, which took a lot of time for them, we allow them to focus their efforts on what they're good at. And that is sales steering, which means, for example, setting up these rooms that are in each IKEA store, which show how your room could look, or helping customers, which drives sales in its own. And not only do we set the prices for them, we have also built, together with our algorithm, we have actually also built a UI, so where we send the prices. So not only do we help them set prices, we've also built a very simple way for them to implement these prices. All they have to do is click a button to accept the new prices, and then print out new price tags and post them across the store. And something that would have taken more than a week can now be done in a handful of hours. But as I said beginning, this was our flagship primarily because it was the first thing that we really did, and we're deploying globally in the next few months. But this has generated a tremendous amount of excitement throughout the entire organization, and there was already a big push happening towards these kinds of things. But now, given the success that we have shown, this push has become even stronger and will continue to do so. In fact, okay, this is the last slide, but we're actually opening new offices in Europe, both in Amsterdam and Madrid. We're expanding our office in Philadelphia. We're opening a new office in Shanghai and one in Bangalore. And we, from data and analytics, and us from pricing, we will have presence in most of these places. Right now, along this process of opening the new offices, Amsterdam is furthest along. In the Discord channel for this meeting, there's the jobs channel, and there I posted some openings for senior like data science, data analyst leader roles, but also some data engineering roles that are already being advertised. And data science roles, MLE roles, so forth, will show up there moving forward. So just reach out to me if you are interested in these sorts of things. Thank you for listening.